Welcome back to Q-Dads. I'm Ste and I'm back with more thoughts and theories around episode 5 of Dark Matter. But like Jason, I'm slightly overwhelmed with the different amount of questions I have for this show. For me, the pace has dropped since last week, but still sheds a little more light on the whole concept of the show. Plus, it feels like a bit of a push towards us saving the planet and showing us that it's our own thoughts and actions that can make a difference. Just like your actions can make you subscribe to us. See what I did there? Anyway, the episode starts in the Corridor of Infinity, where Jason 1 and Amanda talk about how they will travel to the worlds by feeling safe and happy. But when they open the next door, they are flooded with a world where the sea level has risen, rushing water into the box. Now, two things here. Jason mentions that he was feeling overwhelmed about having to control his feelings, which is why he entered the world that is flooded. Secondly, the weight of the water seemed to pull the box further down, actually moving the box, which we did question if this was possible, and also opens up the possibility of another world where the box has been moved. More on that towards the end. As Amanda and Jason get back into the box and start drying off their clothes. Now, Ben did say to me, why do they have an infinite number of doors if the doors they open are controlled by thought? To him, it seemed pretty pointless. He said he thought about the fact that the infinite numbers of doors could represent the infinite number of thoughts they have, but then that wouldn't explain why they have to think carefully before opening a door. The way I see it is, it's just the mind making you think you walk into the next door, as in reality, you wouldn't actually be moving because you'd still be in the box. I think my big question on this though, how do both people's minds sync up? Surely your brain wouldn't be able to show you the same thing as another. Anyway, they make small talk about their lives, including sweets, and the fact that Charlie has a peanut allergy. They mention the other people that went into the box, so on top of Blair and Jason too, we actually have Salim and Alex too. Will we see future versions of these in the upcoming episodes? After falling to sleep in the box and the drugs wearing off, they are left with a door, not fully realising where this would lead. Now, they open this door, and if you remember, a couple of episodes ago, Ben and I had opposing opinions around Blair, and it turns out that in this episode, Ben was right. The Blair we've already seen on screen was just ordinary Blair, and is in fact the one from World 1. This is Blair too, and she has been here for 3 months in a lockdown facility. They are locked down because of this swarm of bugs, but another version of Blair brought them back from another world, which then decimated this one. And of course, that got me thinking, if there are other Blairs out there going around, there's potentially an infinite number of Blairs, Jasons and Amandas all roaming these boxes, looking for their own home, or someone else's. Will any of them bump into each other? I really hope so. We get a conversation with Blair, Amanda and Jason, where they talk about college. For Blair, it was in fact a moment where she chose engineering, but Blair 1 actually chose law. And if I remember correctly, there was a moment when Jason was around college that he too made a decision about Daniela and Charlie. Is that time the anchor to where all the different paths started from? Jason 2 and Leighton 1 talk about movies, and Jason 2 messes with Leighton just a little bit, but he also nicely explains the currency theory that each note would have its own barcode and serial number, meaning it would be useless within this world. Now, before we move on, Ben kept mentioning why doesn't Jason just get money from somewhere else? I explained how this would be to him before, so I'm glad the show has now explained to him too. They enter the box, and Jason mentions that Leighton now has the multiverse at his fingertips, and Leighton offers to spend $1 million on each vial of the drug that Jason gives to him, ultimately fulfilling Jason's plan of making him a millionaire, and having the money to do whatever is needed, plus the family that he always desired. Again, the best of both worlds. Jason 1 and Amanda say their goodbyes to Blair. As they enter into the box, they actually discuss why Jason 2 is the way he is. And again, as we've already speculated, this all stems around having a family and that initial choice they made when Daniela was pregnant. Jason 1 enters the world, which he thinks is his own, and they begin to explore this. They realise it's not quite what it seemed. We do get a quick shot of a cat again, this time alive, mirroring the one we saw in the Frozen world, where it was ultimately dead. It turns out this world is filled with a disease, and that Daniela and Charlie are very sick, and people are not allowed to leave their houses. They must wear masks and are intrusively tested due to the disease being passed on through bodily fluids. I'm getting a strange feeling of deja vu about this world. Anyway, they try another door, which leads them to another world, and through the use of cutscenes, we're led to believe this is Jason 1's homeworld, and a confrontation with 2 Jasons is about to happen. But of course, we knew this wouldn't, and in fact, Jason in this world is actually meant to be in jail. We're not sure what for, but we did mention before about a possible evil Jason. Could this be hinting at that? As clearly, the versions of Velocity have protocols in place for people not in their universe entering. Jason and Amanda have to escape and search for help, which turns out to be a friend of Amanda's. Yet, in this world, Amanda is dead. So what do? They just give her a hug and rob her car. Thoughtful. I suppose both of these worlds were a chance for Jason and Amanda to learn about controlling their emotions and realising that it's not as straightforward as they first thought. Now we end the episode with Jason 2 getting some more drugs back from his homeworld, but also learning about what Jason 1 and Amanda are up to, and the fact that Layton 2 is now roaming the corridor of infinity. Jason explains to Layton 1 that when he enters the box, he will be sealing this box from the outside to prevent anyone else getting in. Now, overall, this episode explained a lot more. It was a little bit slower, but it did give us some good details. And speaking of details, when Jason 1 was roaming those worlds, like the posters on the walls, gave us a quick indication that this was not the correct world for him. Another question I have, though, is around Jason 2 and Layton 2 now. Now, Jason understands that his own Layton is roaming the corridor of infinity. Does this mean technically Jason 2 could use this thought to enter a world where Layton 2 is? Is it possible to enter the same superposition as someone else as long as you know they're there? Also, how do you seal a box? Because one scene in this episode really got me thinking. It was the scene where they open the box in the flooded world. When they first open the box, it's floating. Now I question if a square cube would ever float in the first place, assuming it only sinks because they open the door and water floods in. So does this mean the box is only created in the new world at the point you open the door? If so, the world in the previous episode, where they were in a building, the box looked like it had been there for a while, again strengthening the theory that others have found a way to use the box. As if the box already exists in the world, someone has to have been there before or left from there before. Let me know what you think. Leaning on Ben's question for a bit, why do we have a corridor of infinity if the doors are controlled by thought? It makes no sense. You should be able to open a door and there you go. You're in the world that you were thinking of. Close it and open it again. We don't need an infinite number of doors when it really only depends on the one door you're opening. I've not read the book, so I'm not sure if this is just to help the viewers visualise them changing doors, or if the corridor of infinity is actually a world in its own right. Now, while we're all over this corridor of infinity, let's talk about the big elephant of existence. Earlier in the episode, Jason 2 mentions you can only visit a world where you existed at some point, which I guess makes sense, so you're only able to travel to worlds connected to you. What happens when two people are in the box and one person thinks of a world where the other never existed? Is a door able to be created? Can only one person enter? Or can both still enter? But this causes an anomaly in that world, bringing about its end. I know it seems far-fetched, but why mention those rules? How does Jason 2 know those are the exact rules? Did he at some point meet up with one of the other two people that entered the box, and has opened a world where one of those didn't exist, as a way to get rid of them? Now finally, I can't help feeling that the show is reminding us of potentially current possibilities, like the threat of global warming with the flooded world, or the desolate one in the previous episode, or the fact that we have a disease-ridden world in this episode. They all seem like real threats that we could potentially change if we alter our behaviour. So, as mentioned, I think this episode wasn't as good as episode 4, but it did give us some vital information. Now, with 3 episodes to go, I can't help but think the pace of the show is going to be quite slow. Jason 1 can now control the doors, and Jason 2 wants to keep the door closed forever. I assume he'll attempt to find Layton 2 first, but even so, I'm not sure if 3 episodes is too much time for this, especially now as it seems the rules of the box have been fully explained. So do you think Jason 2 will save Layton 2? Will Jason 1 actually get back to his own world? Or will he accidentally think about Max and end up in a world where Charlie died instead? And finally, do you think we'll see something new exit one of the boxes? A bit like the Plague of Wasps. Right, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe as it helps us to grow. And as always, catch you next time with something new.